Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the somewhat guide on how to change the timing assembly on a Subaru EZ30D engine, as well as how to reseal it behind the rear timing cover. Now, I found a stronger piece of steel, unlike the one I had in part 1, to try and break loose the intake cam sprockets with, only to bend the bolts instead. So, I decided to move on to other aspects of the teardown instead. Enjoy! Forget about that right now. I'm going to buy the breaker bar, I'm going to buy some better bolts, and we will try again in the morning. Now, this is the oil pump. We're going to remove this now. It's a bunch of hex screws all the way around it. You have to remove this, but before we do that, we have to remove the bolt and this sprocket, this crank sprocket. And we're going to remove this sprocket here. It's just an idler sprocket for both of the chains. And this down here is the water pump, which we are also going to remove. So yeah, let's focus on the water pump and the oil pump. And we will do these two later. So yeah, let's crack on. Got two more screw cups, one for the water pump, one for the oil pump, so I can keep them sorted. On the water pump, they are mixed and matched. These are 6mm hex screws combined with 10mm screws. Ouch. Sharp edges everywhere here, guys. I wonder why they didn't put the water pump externally so you could service it easier. I mean, it is a common item to replace, unless you want to risk engine damage. But yeah, if I were the engineer who designed this, I would put it externally so you wouldn't have to remove the chain just to change it. Seems like an awful lot of work. I mean, it's different if you have a timing belt, because then you just change it whenever you change the timing belt. But this, honestly, I think is quite stupid. Let's see here. No more. Okay, so, the top one here, my bad. It wasn't even for the water pump, it's for the backplating timing chain rear cover, as they say. Come on now. Oops. It was O-ringed. Double O-ring, as you can see here. Besides that squeaky noise, this wasn't that bad, but I have a new one, so... And I wouldn't do all this work just to put in the old one, because that's just asking for trouble in the future. Now, how come... Can you see that in the video? It's dirty. It's like, I don't know, road dust or something has gotten in here. How in the hell could it do that? Now, this hole in the water pump you can see here isn't actually a problem. That hole is there to be a pass-through passage for the cavities behind the rear timing cover and the engine block, because it's an open area there for the environment. There, now that's loose. Now we're going to remove the bolt, hopefully, without turning the crank. That was a 17 mil, by the way. This is a 22 mil, in case I forgot to mention that before. Now I'm going to... I wonder if this keyway is fixed on here. It is pretty... no. Yeah, it can still remain because the oil pump is wider. I mean, if I can't pry it out, it's not going to fall out. And if it does, I will just have to eat up my words. These hex screws, on the other hand, for the oil pump is 5 millimeters. For the last 4 screws, which are the countersunk screws for the oil pump, Subaru decided to screw with us mechanics a bit, since the size they chose were 4.4 millimeters, and I can't think of a reason why anyone would have them in their drawer, in their garage or workshop or wherever else. So, I mean, someone at Subaru must have just, yeah, let's play them a prank here and not use 4mm or 5mm hex screws. Let's use 4.4mm, and then just let us mechanics scratch our heads bloody, wondering why a 4mm is too small and a 4.5mm is too big. So instead of just trying to find a 4.4mm hex, I decided to just drill them out and buy 4 new ones. And with all of them removed or drilled out, it's simply a matter of prying it out gently with your fingers. And now the same for the inner and outer rotor. They might be a bit sticky, but they just come out as well. The inner rotor of the oil pump has 2 flattened sides, so it can only go 2 ways, and it doesn't really matter. The outer rotor, as far as I can tell, spins freely, so you just have to oil it and push it back in when the time comes. You fellas with keener eyes might have already noticed the absence of the idler sprocket further down, but here's the removal of it. This might be worth mentioning. As you can see, you have a washer here. Actually, it's not a washer really, but perhaps you can call it a bushing. Anyway, it goes on the back side, not the front. So, note to self and you viewers, washer, bushing, thingamajiggy goes from the back side to space it out, not on the front to space the bolt. So yeah, good, great. Before we continue, the intake cam sprockets are already removed, and I can't show you that because the files got corrupted when transferring from the GoPro to the computer. So sorry about that, but what I did was I took two 12.9 strength rated bolts and used them in the precise way I did in the beginning of this video. If you just do that with proper bolts, with the correct strength rating, you won't have an issue, I promise you. Now we can get into the fun stuff and see what the hell is leaking behind this cover. So let's start removing all of the bolts. Yay! Let's start cracking them bad boys loose. These are all 10mm, by the way. I just love Japanese cars. 10 and 12mm everywhere. Mostly 10s. I just love the simplicity of it. I regret not owning a Japanese car till now. Despite me having such bad luck with all of my cars. I mean, I can look at cars and establish if it's a good buy for family members and friends and whatnot. And those cars just last and last and last and last. You don't have to do anything else but oil changes. My cars, I look at them exactly the same way, but they always break down. Usually between a few weeks and a month or two. So like this car, it worked perfectly, and honestly I think the seller had washed the under tray, because I was very fervent with checking oil leakage, and not a single drop, nil, nothing. And I get home, and what do I see just a few days later? Oil dripping. And what I think happened is you have isolation on the bottom. I think he had thoroughly washed it, so it had to re-soak with oil before dripping to the ground. Hence why it took a few days before I could see it on my driveway. So, yeah. What do you think, people? Should I turbo it? And if I should I keep it automatic? Here's a perfect example of the warped reality I believe I live in. Since I thought it was a good idea and a time saver to go and look for my 90-degree air drill and accompanying adapters to fit a socket to it, instead of just removing the bolts with the wrench I already had in my hand. So, looking for the drill and the accompanying adapters, it's safe to say this took much longer than if I had just removed the bolts the old-fashioned way. Well, I made that look incredibly complicated, and make no mistake, it was. Now let's see here. Last thing. What was that? 6? I believe it was a 6. Correctamundo. So, just to make clear, 6mm hex screws here. Last 4, if you didn't remove the one that I did for the water pump. 3 in my case. No, my bad. 5 to begin with, 4 for me. One was hiding, as you can see, down here, to the left. Oh, damn it, there's another one. You could almost swear these bolts are spawning from nowhere. There's just so many cavities on this back cover. No, I don't think so. Or have I? So guys, I missed a few bolts that are outside of the oily bits, so to speak. So these are, let's see here, as you can see here, this is the crank, and above it you have 1, 2, 3 and 4 right there. Those 4 you have to loosen up. I completely missed that. And we have to go beneath to, let's see here. And beneath here you can see a bolt right there. Yeah, that, there. Now you can see it. Those as well. And then we just have to pry it out of here. There's a bit of sealant around this and over on that side as well, behind the paper there. And around here, if I'm not mistaken, the oil pump area. So be careful, it's a large aluminium part. Yeah, some common sense and it should get loose. Let's do this bolt first. By the way, I have, not sure if the camera can pick it up, but this pipe here is quite corroded and frankly sad looking, so I have ordered a new one, which is hopefully coming soon. Now we can remove it. Oh, right, so there we go. Alright people, it's finally out. And let me show you where I think my oil leak was originating from. It was originating, the sump is obviously down here, and it was originating from this region, which only leaves 2 spots. Either this or from here. And might have actually been this passage. Perhaps because this just looks like new oil, and here we can see it has probably leaked for a while. And this is how an EZ30 looks behind the timing gear. You can see here, oh, well, it is actually quite wet back here. It could be that the leak was originating from somewhere around the oil pump area here. Let's get cracking. It's not going to assemble itself. Before doing anything else, and with full access to this area, I decided a little quick cleaning were in order. Nothing too fancy, just to remove most of the gunk. Alright, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see part 3, where it's going to be the assembly of the engine, please consider subscribing. And while you're in the area, you know, hit the like button. It would really help me out. And have a good one. Until next time.